Well, Magnus joins us from wonderful Scotland to talk about the important works of Mary's Meals. Magnus, thanks so much for being with us. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Great to be back on. Thanks for having me.
Well, I love the accent. I'm just going to say that right at the beginning. It sounds great. Hey, what can you tell us about the current situation of COVID-19 and what impact is it having on the world's poorest nations?
Yeah, so obviously our mission takes place in those world's poorest nations, and you know it's interesting just watching that clip before this that reality of schools closing is happening all over the world. You know, so really in every country where we provide meals, and that's what our mission's all about, providing daily meals in school for the world's poorest children. In all those countries where we work, the schools have now been closed by the governments, and those children are at home. So thankfully, so far in most of those countries in the developing world, the number of cases of the virus are very low, but they are growing, and no one really knows what's going to happen over the coming weeks and months. There's a fear that they're just simply tracking a few weeks behind us in Europe and in North America. But also there are some hopes that maybe the virus won't take hold there the same way. The truth is, none of us really know, but there's a reality that we are trying to deal with today, which is all of those children being out of school.
I mentioned, Magnus, in the beginning of the show, your great help to children. So how severely does this crisis impact the ability of Mary's Meals to take care of kids, to feed children?
Yeah, I mean, it's had a huge impact. You know, at the start of this crisis, we were feeding 1.7 million children every school day around the world. So I think that number's grown a little bit since we last talked. And you know, I think it was 2 weeks ago we got news that the final program country had shut its schools, and that was a really black day for us. It felt for a moment like there was no way for us to go forward in our mission. And then very quickly in the days after that, our amazing teams on the ground began talking to the community leaders, talking to the governments, working with the ministries of health and education to form these fantastic plans about bringing food to the children at home. Because, of course, you can temporarily close schools for the good of the public health of a nation, but you can't just temporarily stop feeding children. They need to be fed. And we know for many of those children, that daily meal we were serving is very often their only meal in the day. So it's been wonderful over the last week or so to see those plans start to be realized, to see our teams finding ways to bring food to the children at home, or having the parents come to the schools individually to pick up their rations of food. So there's still lots of work to do across all our programs to find solutions like that everywhere, but we're off to a great start, thank God.
Yeah, I've seen that even in my community, where people are afraid that when these kids don't go to schools, a lot of them don't eat, because you're right, Magnus, that's their meal. So that's why your work is so important. And like many nonprofits, you know, you rely, like we do, on donations. Are people still inclined to support children in faraway places when there's so much going on around the world with this COVID-19 and other issues?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I certainly had that question, you know, when we just see the suffering that people everywhere are dealing with, and all the new hardships and the new questions we're all grappling with. I would have understood if people, you know, had forgotten about these children so far away. But that absolutely isn't our experience so far. It's incredible how people are going the extra mile. And you know, it is a challenge, because many of our fundraising events have been cancelled. A lot of how we fundraise is about face-to-face meetings, people giving talks in their schools or their parishes, or running marathons or whatever it might be, and all of that's suddenly gone. But meanwhile, we're seeing yet again just the goodness of people, you know, and all sorts of new initiatives being born, beautiful prayer groups within the Mary's Meals family, online prayer groups spontaneously forming. And I just see this huge new desire within Mary's Meals and out with for people to spend time together in prayer. So some very beautiful things too.
We want to hear about exciting things happening, but just in case people haven't had a chance to meet you before when you've been with us, can you just tell us briefly about the beginnings of Mary's Meals? How did this all start?
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't tell you the whole story. I know time is short, but really the beginning of the story is when I was only 15 years of age, 1983. Our family went on a pilgrimage from here in Scotland to the Marian Shrine of Medjugorje. And that really changed our lives. And it turned, it led my parents to turn our home here into a Catholic retreat center. Years later, when the war began in Bosnia, we started trying to help there. And this work grew out of that and evolved. And then, in 2002, this specific work of Mary's Meals was born through an encounter I had with a child in Africa who, when I asked him his ambition in life, just said to me, I want to have enough food to eat and I want to be able to go to school today. And that really launched this mission of ours of a daily meal every day in a place of education. And from the beginning, we felt this work belonged in a special way to Mary, the Mother of Jesus, to Our Lady. We gave it to her and we asked her to bless this work and to show us how to do it. And this work's just grown in that incredible way. I think we began with 200 kids. And now we're feeding, 1.7 million children nearly today. So, it never ceases to amaze me what's happened.
1.7 million kids? Wow, that's incredible. Is that the map? What's the map behind you, Magnus?
It's a map of the world, actually, yeah, with little flags in all the countries we work. So we would have a Mary's Meals organization probably in about 36 countries. Half of them would be where we deliver the meals, and the other half are where we fundraise. So countries like the US, of course, and Canada and Germany and UK and Australia. So it's really grown incredibly quickly around the world, this simple mission.
Yeah, I could see the flags. Well, you have a lot of other things happening too. What are some of the new things that you're working on?
Well, we've got all sorts of exciting things, actually, but maybe the one I would pick today is we have a new film coming out shortly. It's starring the Hollywood actor Gerard Butler, and he's become a great friend of Mary's Meals, and he's visited program countries with me again recently, and we've made a new film about that. Now, we had a plan to launch that through screenings, premieres in different parts of the world. That's no longer possible, so it will become an online launch, and that will be happening in the next few weeks. So we're really excited about that and feeling maybe that's providential, that this has happened in God's time, because actually the project was a little bit delayed from our original plan. But we're thinking right now this might be the best time to put that film out there when so many people have a little more time and so many people are looking for things to watch and learn about at home.
And through all of this, Magnus, 15 years old in 1983 to now, what has been your greatest joy for you?
That's a really hard question, because really there are so many. This is a work of joy. It's something I notice about Mary's Meals wherever I see it take life around the world. That's the common characteristic, joy, and one of my great joys today is just going back to the program's countries and meeting young people who've left school and who are having great lives, who say, I never even would have gone to school without Mary's Meals. So many young people like that today, and that's just one joy. But there are so many, and I think maybe all of us these days are maybe just realizing how much we've taken for granted. How much there is to be grateful for within Mary's Meals. Just grateful for the story of Mary's Meals and for every person in it. And every little act of love that makes all of this possible. I just feel more than ever this huge sense of gratitude and this huge sense of joy.
Well, Magnus, we always appreciate you being on. It's always a pleasure. Where can people find out more about the great work that your organization is doing? marysmealsusa.org. Just go there. Just type in Mary's Meals and go to our website and or follow us on social media, and just lots and lots of information there. Always a pleasure. You stay safe and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Great speaking to you both again.
God bless, Magnus.